This video and the videos after it, in some cases, are older videos that I have kind of freshened up a little bit, but they cover exactly what we will cover. So you might hear me talk about this as Lecture 7, you might hear other things, but this is the right video. So in this video, we will look at eukaryotic microorganisms, and those are fungi, protists, and helminths, and sometimes algae. And we will get into some helminth pathogens. So where we start this is with some broad perspective about why we care about these organisms and why we care about grouping them the way we group them. And the way I like to start this is thinking about antimicrobial therapy. So these are some words we use. Disinfectant. Disinfectant is something we put on a surface like a floor or a table that kills microorganisms. And so those can be really toxic to us because we don't care. They don't touch us. They touch inert surfaces. Antiseptics can't be as toxic to us. We put them on our skin, so they kill microorganisms on our skin. They have to be toxic to the microorganism, but not quite as toxic to us. But still, we don't let those things get into our bloodstream, right? That they could be damaging to our organs if they got into us. We don't eat antiseptics. Antibiotics, those we eat or inject. Those are supposed to be safe enough to be in our bodies, but they still kill microorganisms. The tricky thing here is that there's toxicity with everything. So it's possible for any chemical to be toxic to us either through an allergy or through some adverse reaction with our kidneys or our liver or our nervous system or whatever. So antibiotics are supposed to be the least toxic of these three because they have to be safe to be inside us. But it's a good thing to acknowledge right now. A lot of antibiotics are still very toxic to us. A lot of antibiotics come with warnings about they're too dangerous for kids or they're too dangerous for certain groups. And there are some antibiotics we don't use anymore because they're too toxic. So don't ever simplify this to the point of saying that like antibiotics are toxic to bacteria but not to us. They're just toxic. Okay, so with that we can think about the eukaryotic microorganisms through this lens of antibiotics in particular. We'll come back to the other ones later. Antibiotics, again, they disrupt processes inside microorganisms. So they will disrupt, say, peptidoglycan, or they'll disrupt a bacterial ribosome, or they'll disrupt something inside a fungus while not disrupting the same thing inside us. That's the idea. And so the key here is that an antibiotic has to target something in a microorganism that we don't have. It has to target something in a microorganism and damage that thing without damaging the same thing in us. So that means there has to be something in the microorganism that's different from what's in us. The perfect example is peptidoglycan. We don't have any. So you can disrupt peptidoglycan all you want in your own body without damaging your own cells. Another good example is bacterial ribosomes. Bacteria are very distantly related to us. We haven't shared a common ancestor with them for more than 1 billion years, and so everything inside them has been evolving randomly during that whole time. So their ribosomes are different from us, and that means we can find drugs that stop bacterial ribosomes from working, and those same drugs don't always stop our own ribosomes from working. And we can think of this, we can understand this by looking at a phylogenetic tree. Bacteria, us, there is a really, really big difference between us. And so there are things like ribosomes in bacteria are just different from our ribosomes in enough ways that we can find drugs that target their ribosomes. Peptidoglycan is a much easier target because it's completely different from anything we have. Because the bacteria are over here and we are over here. Now, if we look at fungi or protists, they're all over here. If we, for example, think about parabacillids, I don't remember, there are pathogens in this group of protists. Well, their ribosomes aren't so different from ours. And the fungal ribosomes are going to be even more closely related to ours. So we can't come up with like anti-ribosome drugs for treating fungal infection very easily. Now, you will find there are antifungal drugs, there are anti-protist drugs, but there aren't as many, and it's not as easy to discover them as it has been to discover antibiotics against bacteria. So the closer related we are to a pathogen, the harder it is to find drugs that we can safely eat or inject that will kill that pathogen. And so some of the most challenging would be the helminths, because they are right here with us, and their cells are very similar to our cells. Okay, so that's enough of that. In the next video, we will look at the fungi and a lot of their characteristics. Some of these we might have talked about already. So I will see you there.